me a hint. Dessert. Call to order the regular council meeting for the town of Evansville. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Chad Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Cano. Here. Councilmember Candace Machado.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Scott.
Here.
Councilmember Kathy Steinbach.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Murray.
Here.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson.
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Thompson. Fire Chief Leo Malson. Here. Public Works Hanson. Here. Town Clerk Janelle Underwood and rest citizens.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 1, the consent agenda. Approval of regular meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2021. Approval of business license Da Vinci Signs and Rissler Plumbing and Heating, and the approval of the bills. I'll have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, item number 2, approval of the parade permit for Tech Point Car Show, May 8th, 2021. I believe, did we get everybody?
Yes,
Materials?
Mr. Mayor, Council brought before you tonight is a proposal for Tech Point to hold a car show on May 8th, 2021 from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. They are proposing, but they have not been applied for. Oil City Beer Company applying for a catering permit to have beer at the car show. But as I said, that has not been applied for yet. As well as there has been talk of a food vendor having a food truck that has not been applied for as well. They are talking about blocking off the westbound lane of the frontage road, the Yellowstone frontage road, as well as Texas Street, and then keeping the eastbound lane of the frontage road open for emergency traffic, with the anticipation that if anybody needs to maneuver in that vicinity, that the alleyways are open back behind that. I have included in your guys' council packet the drawing that they provided with a proposal of where they want to have their car show, as well as the areas that they're proposing to have the area blocked off, as well as a copy of the ordinance that talks about the parade permits and an aerial photo. The applicant is also present tonight, so if you have any questions for him, he is here. His name is Corey O'Malley, and he is here if you have any questions for him.
I'd like to hear from Corey if be appropriate.
Yeah.
Absolutely, come on up.
Okay, cool. Hey, so we decided to put up this show because, we would like to donate some money to the fire department. And that's something that we thought would be a big deal, bringing something cool to Evansville as well. I know we don't have a lot of events around here. So, and we're a newly business up there on Yellowstone too. So.
I have a few questions,
Okay.
if you don't mind. One of the things, you're going to be applying for a beer permit, or somebody's going to be applying for one.
Right.
I would think that council would ask that if that permit were to be applied, that we would not allow glass bottles up there in the area.
Glass bottles, okay.
And then logistics wise, I got a few other questions for you. So restrooms.
Yeah, we're going to get some porta potties arranged for that area as well, right next to our building. They're also able to use our shop's restroom. We have a few of them, so.
I'm sorry if everybody else wants to chime in. I just have a kind of list I'd like to ask. And parking. So I don't know how many people you're anticipating, but do you have ample parking available for people without blocking other people's businesses and driveways.
Right. So I actually talked to most of the businesses surrounding our area that we're planning on blocking off and doing the car show. And then there is a huge parking lot where that big, where a bar used to be years ago. And then so that was going to be the parking lot we're going to try to use to be for parking.
They've agreed to that?
Yeah. And then we're going to make sure that, so there's some trailers over there as well. So we're going to make sure that there's some blockage over there too, so that we can park in front of their area.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be, I know you can't control everyone,
Right.
but there are some people that live in your area, so we want to make sure we're not blocking them in their driveways and things like that.
Right.
People there.
How would you be handling the trash?
We do have tons of trash cans, and then so our team will be the one cleaning up all the trash after it's done and ready to go. So
So you'll be responsible for
Yep.
the bathroom?
after everybody, yeah.
That was another question I had, is that, fortunately, people are going to litter and put
Right.
stuff around. So
Right.
as the person putting it on, you would be responsible for cleaning that up and make sure everything is properly disposed of.
Right.
So I believe that's most questions I have. Does anybody have anything to add into there?
So you had said that you wanted the money to go towards the
The fire department, yeah,
And
donation
so
to that.
What kind of fees are you planning on charging?
So we have a lot of donations coming in, and so we're gonna do some raffle tickets. I'm gonna be donating a $1,000 detail for it, and so people can come in and it'd be like a $10 raffle for that one. We're gonna have a bunch of other dollar raffles and stuff like that. So everything that we make off of that, yeah, we're going to use that for the donation.
So do you have an actual detailed plan laid out of how everything's gonna get handled? In terms of trash, you said you have people that are going to be monitoring this, so do you have specifics?
Yeah, so my team members, so all my crews are going to be the ones taking care of all that. The traffic as well, they're going to be working on that part of it. And then what else?
So they'll be telling people where to park?
Right.
And will we get detailed information on that before a decision is made
Yes.
of your plan of attack?
Yes, I can write you guys a little a plan for that. Yeah, PowerPoint for that.
You can add that to us, just drop it off up here at City Hall before the next town council meeting. So
Okay.
we have time to look at it. Then if we have any additional questions, if you leave a number that we
Okay.
can contact you with.
Yeah.
We can make a decision, and then I would like to.
I was going to leave you guys with some of my flyers for it. If you guys would like those.
Another item I have is to, looks like you have everything outlined pretty well as to not disrupt everything around with you. So
Right.
do you have barricades you're going to be putting up on the side roads and on the back of the business?
we will have barricades for each road that we'll be blocking off.
Thank you.
And how many cars are you going to have involved in this?
It looks like it could be between 30 and 60 cars for the car show. And most of those cars be on the street going the west way or our parking lot or the parking lot. There's a little, there is a little mall right next door to us. They said it was fine for us to park some cars over there as well. And then down the street of Texas.
But at this time, you don't know, are you the one going to be putting the permit in for the alcohol or food?
So Oil City Brew is going to do the permit through Casper first. And then so they have to get that taken care of first. And then they're going to come down here and get that taken care of. And then so we'd be the one responsible for, the fees and all that kind of stuff.
What about the alcohol?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. So we will be responsible for yeah.
So looks like your permit is asking for noon to 6. Is that
Right.
correct? So then you'll be shutting down at 6 and cleaning up and.
It would probably be more like close to 4. And so we have some extra time to clean up, let people out and all that kind of stuff. So,
But you will have somebody there at all times.
yeah. So I have a crew of 8 guys. And so, so that team will be responsible for making sure all that stuff is taken care of.
Okay, kind of go back into the alcohol. You said the Oil City is going to be responsible for all that, the permit, but then when you're actually on site, are they going to do like a little beer garden? Are they going to have it fenced off, or how can we prevent?
Yeah, so we're gonna have wristbands that says that they're 21 and older, and then the ones who are responsible for it is Oil City and us. And so those will only be the only ones we're able to hand out those wristbands.
Okay, so you guys can ID and then.
Right, right.
I would only ask too that you have it stating somewhere on the premises, at least where they purchase the alcohol.
Mhm.
Alcohol stays there. It's
Right.
not put into your vehicle, it's not taken off the premises.
Right. Okay. We can make some signs for that as well.
That's the only thing I foresee is them trying to take them and leave with them, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Right. I mean, I think that the beer would probably, the alcohol part of it wouldn't be that big of the event. You know, it's probably mostly food and, you know, games and stuff like that. So.
I'd like to hear from the chiefs. Do you guys have anything to add in? No?
I know catering permits have been issued before, and to Kathy, to answer part of your question, I don't think alcohol can be taken off the premise under a catering permit, so that would be taken care of inside that permit.
I know, but I just wanted them to have something, a signage up stating to that fact, because if they don't know that, they'll just leave the premises with it.
And then as far as response, as long as we have an opening for law enforcement and fire department to get it or something happens, I have zero problem with it. And I think things like this are good for our community. So.
Looking over the plans, where there's access for emergency services, the other businesses and residents who still access. Almost every community, bar none, Castor has them. People drive all the way to Deadwood, so I think it's a great opportunity. It's accessible. I think should we get a development going and have a grass area in our park, in the future, if you move there, longer, more appropriate place.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that was something that we were thinking, but yeah.
Thank you for our community to bring people here and show off our great community.
Well, we thank you for starting this. Maybe this will become a trend.
Yeah, that's where our goal is. Yeah, I mean, this is something we would like to do, yeah, annually, and it's a big deal for not just us, for the whole community. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad that.
Have any other comments, thoughts?
Just a couple of quick questions. Oil City Beer Company, they'll handle the distribution of the pouring.
Right. Yeah. So that's all their responsibility. That's something that we won't be doing. Yeah. And since it would kind of, be a license issue for them, and so.
And it's customary in other jurisdictions that their people be tips trained. Is that something you discussed with them?
Yeah, that's something that they're probably going to be, taken care of. So.
Okay, it's kind of become a stipulation in a lot of other areas. It's just to help them identify who's had too much.
Right.
Just kind of avoid some problems.
Yeah.
So, do I have a recommendation of action? Are we, is it consensus that you provide a plan and then approval would be at the next meeting? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
So will you be able to provide that plan to us? And of course, the sooner the better. So if anybody's got time to review it and they can ask you questions, and then we'll bring the item back up at the next meeting for approval. Does that work for you?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So I think I need a motion to table the item till the next meeting.
Motion.
I have a second.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate
All
your
right,
time.
thank you.
All right, next item up for discussion is the discussion of the trailers parking on streets. I think we're going to open this up to public comment, but before we do that, I think Kathy's got some email comments we'd like to present, and you want to read the ordinance to start us off?
Yes.
The current
I wanted
ordinance.
to read the ordinance at first because there's been some misconceptions on what the ordinance says. So I want to make sure that everybody understands what the ordinance does say. No person shall park or permit to remain on any street, alley, or roadway within the town of Evansville, except for a short duration not to exceed 7 days in any consecutive 30-day period. Any travel trailers, motorized homes, boat trailer or store, or dismounted truck camper provided that the owner or occupant of any lot may park or store up to 3 such units owned on a such lot. The foregoing shall not apply to storage in authorized trailer sales, service facilities, storage garages, and mobile home parks. With that being said, we did have a couple of emails and a couple of personal acquaintances. Since maybe they couldn't make it here tonight for one reason or another, and I told them that we would make it publicly known what their thoughts and their desires are. I will not be reading their names or their addresses, though. It came to our attention within the last year that there is an ordinance concerning length of trailer or travel RV can be on the street. My husband has owned his residence since 2001 and has never had a problem with anyone concerned with anything being parked on the road. It wasn't until 2017 that we owned and stored our own camper again there and has never had anything said by anyone, including the neighbors. Our understanding was as long as the tags on the trailer or car were current, there shouldn't be an issue. This ordinance, which is now being enforced, states that the trailer RV can only be on the street 7 days and a 30-day period is ridiculous. Our summers are short, and as soon as the weather is nice, we go camping every weekend until the weather tells us that we can no longer do so. It is so much easier and convenient for us to park in front of our home to load and unload the camper. It's also impossible to back it in if the neighbors have parked cars in front of their house. We've always been courteous to our neighbors and willing to move the camper if the need arises. I do understand that come winter time and when it snows, a camper on the street is not ideal and can pose a driving hazard. Our camper is parked on the street of our house once camping season is over. I believe a compromise could be to have the no limited dates during this period. For example, from April 1st through October 1st should not have any limit on how many days the camper or trailer can be on the street. As for the rest of the time, I do not have an opinion as it does not affect us. I have another one that says I cannot attend the meeting, but I am totally against being able to park closed campers, trailers on the street. Looks trashy, and the campers also make it hard to see backing out of your driveway. I do not think it's appropriate for campers, trailers, and/or boats to be parked long-term on the street. These items that should be parked on a person's property long-term. However, I have noticed that most people will need to utilize the street parking when getting their boats, campers, and/or trailers ready. So I would like to see an ordinance that would allow for short-term parking at the very least. For example, if we are borrowing our friend's camper to go camping and we have to pick it up the weekend before going camping and can't go camping until later in the week, it would be a huge burden to not be able to park it anywhere while waiting to go on our trip. I don't think that it would be fair to just never, ever allow the parking of these items on the street at any time. Most people need to prep them, get them ready to go, park them on the street, and then head out for a few days. I think it's only fair to allow our fellow neighbors this option. It must create an ordinance due to people abusing street parking for these large items. I'd recommend at the very least a 14-day parking allowance for the people who are preparing and getting ready to go on a trip. And then you can require it to be moved after that. If you're concerned with having to babysit this, then maybe we can require a street parking permit, a free permit from the city, ? Basically, what we do is go down to City Hall or Town of Evansville office, and we'll fill out a form stating which days we will have these items in the street. Then someone in the office can sign off, and it gives us something to put on the boat, camper, and/or trailer, so the town knows that we have permission for a short term. The wonderful thing about Evansville is that it's a small town, and in a small town, it has values. This works well, and it works for us. My request is that you do not create more limitations on parking in Evansville. Please keep the small town, family-oriented atmosphere. I had some personal conversations with people. One person let me know that, no, they do not want any ordinance whatsoever on trailers. They're tagged, and if they're tagged, they have the legal right to be on the street at any given time. I had 4 people that do not want the ordinance to change. They want it to stay as it is. I had 4 people say that it's safety, eyesore, kids riding bikes, and you can't see to get out of your driveway. They would like to see this changed. That's all that I have.
All right, with that, we'll open up for public comment for those who are here in the room. Okay.
Alana Vino, I live on 411 Homes. Having the 7-day is definitely difficult. I mean, with any camper, you bring it in for a day, you go camping, you get back, and it takes a couple days to undo it, and then you got to take it somewhere else to store it, and you come back for the next weekend. So, I mean, within that, I mean, say 4 weekends, you're already over your limit with 8 days. A day cleanup to day getting it ready. Even if we were able to do from like, say, May to November, because November's about end of hunting season, because a lot of people use their campers for hunting season. If we put it in during those times that we have unlimited, or you can just have your campers or your trailers there, so then it's easier for people that are camping, because our summers are short and everybody wants to be doing things and back and forth and worrying, oh, wait a minute, I've got I broke this or broke that. I can't have it out on the street, but I've got to move it. It's a little bit more difficult for some people. So maybe having it during those month periods, and maybe if the town's maybe wanting to make, I don't know, a little bit of money on it or something else, that they could actually apply for permits during those certain months. Be like, look, a $10 per month or something like that, of just like, look, I can have my camper there all month long, doesn't matter, or I can move it, I can come in and out as I please. I don't know, a way of make the town make a little bit of extra money with it instead of doing it just during those months. But I can see definitely the problem in the winter. Nobody's really using their campers in the winter anyway, especially Wyoming, -30. But yeah, I would say during like May to November hunting season, I think it's end of November, most elk season is over. So, but I would say doing something like that, then everybody can still use their campers and they're not such a rush of trying to get it cleaned up and moved out and everything else. I mean, because really most campers, they're not any wider than a 1-ton dually truck. They're not taken up width-wise. They're not taking up any more space than that. Yeah, they're taller, but they're just as big as a couple trucks sitting there. So
what you're saying is go like through May 1st through the end of November.
yeah, something like that. Just because I say end of November, just because of hunting season. I mean, there's quite a few people still using your campers through hunting season, and then so you can be done hunting and be able to unload everything. That unloading anything out of your camper always takes a couple days, and getting it ready is at least a day.
So your recommendation for no parking on the street would be from the end of November till April 31st, right?
Or keeping it that 7-day period. People for like doing their snowmobiles or stuff like that. They're trying to get their snowmobiles ready if they're going out in the winter. But most of the time, snowmobilers aren't having campers. So, and snowmobile, most of the time, I mean, through what little experience I've had with them, you're not needing a 3-day period to get things ready and to get things put away.
Like you would with a camper.
Right. Just like you would with a camper. So
That's why I asked.
Yeah. that was kind of my thought. I mean, even if it was one of those that we did like $10 a month of even like a permit for those certain months, because not everybody's going to want to do it, but there will be some people. I know I would definitely, just because it takes so long, where I'm the one that's getting the camper ready and then I'm the one putting everything back away and it's just me doing it. So it's definitely takes a bit longer for family of 4, just, do the kids and do the camper, do the kids, do the camper.
So maybe pay the $10. This is just off the top of my head.
Yeah, of just like, I don't know, like a fee or like
Or
the
it
entire
would be
summer or
a
something.
certain permit that-
Yeah, and slap it on the back of your camper and call it good. I don't know. It was an idea. So I don't know. Evansville needs to always make a little bit of money, and if that's one way that we can make a little extra cash, why not?
No, that makes sense. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, I mean, an extra $10 here and there. Evansville's always good, putting it back in the community. It could go straight towards the park.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I think everybody's kind of said basically what I'm feeling. I was thinking more like an April through the end of November. There's a lot of people out here that have room to store things beside their houses, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of us that don't have that additional parking. To whereas if we took the boat out fishing and we come back, now we got to go put it in storage for 3 or 4 days just to get it back out to go fishing the next week. I mean, it's a total inconvenience. I like the idea of no parking in the wintertime. Bring it back out. Come spring, early walleyes are spawning. Get out, get fishing. I really like the idea of the 10 or 15 or whatever dollars fee for that. And you paid every month and you're good to go. There's a lot of things that add up to me. I went around all of Evansville today and talked to several people. Talked to your neighbor across the street with the boat. They're like, wow, what do we do? I mean, there's not much you can really do if you don't have additional RV parking beside your house, wherever it is, which is my case, and what do? You can't take it to storage every single week to use it every weekend. I like the fee thing, and I like the April through the end of November. I mean, our summers, they're short, and we got to get all we can in.
Well, this is where we ask.
You know.
I encourage people to come. We all encourage people to come.
Well, and like she said, out of a weekend, your 7 days is done. You could be your 14 just doing your Fridays, and it's tough. But I mean, I don't think we should do away with it completely. But I think that parking on the streets is no problem. I mean, where we live, we've got big tow trucks that park out there in the road, dang near block the road. I mean, it's their business. I mean, if you want to go to the point of where, oh, that's their business, well, I'll get an LLC and I'll be a fishing guide. Well, no, I mean, how you want to work it. But I did. I went all over Evansville and I drove in there. At this point, there's probably 8 campers, trailers, whatever it may be. Come summer, there may be 18 or 24, but I don't think it's that big of a nuisance to do it. I've got a neighbor that lives down the street. I don't know if he works 2 weeks on, a week off, or what he does, but he'll bring his camper in. He'll park it there. I don't know if he's on his weeks off. Then it's gone for a couple weeks. Then he's back. I mean, I just can't see him having to take his camper into storage because he come home. I mean, that's what he probably lives in Rollins or wherever it is he's working. Now you're going to say, oh, when you come in at 10 o'clock at night, every time you come, that thing needs to go because you've already used your 1 week out of the month. So I really like the idea of maybe April through the end of November, or a $15 parking permit for those. Generate some money for the town. It doesn't have to be a bunch, but I think it'll go a long ways.
Appreciate it. The gentleman in the back was.
Excuse me.
My name is Phil Gerke, and I live at 644 Eagle Trail. I guess I got a question. Why is the ordinance being looked at? Why are we doing that?
Because there were some complaints last year, some things brought up, people that didn't realize the ordinance was on the books. We recently last year employed our code enforcement officer. So there's been some contact with people about it being in violation of the ordinance, which created discussion, which led us to where we are today.
Oh, maybe I didn't explain myself, but why would we even have an ordinance? Why? Is it for safety? Is it for looks? What's it for?
I could not explain that to you. That ordinance was put on the books back in 2017. And that was further back.
Actually,
Well-
I think the chief's got some insight.
So ordinances are created by elected people. Most communities have something like Douglas has one more strict than ours, 24 hours, and you get a ticket, Casper has one. It really comes down to what the community wants. Is there a safety issue? Absolutely. Is there big, bulky, like a camper, and if a kid runs out, on the driving the road, they're not gonna see it. So for me, I can see both sides. As a citizen, why would, because I have trailers, but I also understand the safety side of it and action prone. So at the end of the discussion, it really, so ironically on social media, somebody was, oh, why are we looking at, we don't enforce it. We actually are having a discussion because that's like the doors. We're going to start enforcing these, leading us here. So if you can't please everybody in the community at the same time, because there's some people that are gonna be like, oh, it's never gonna change, you guys never enforce it, however we are. And if you do away with it, it's one less thing the police department has to deal with. But then you have the other side of the faction of people that say, no, I think it's a safety issue and we should have it on the books. So at the end of the day, it's a good discussion for the community to have and the governing body to look at whether it is the safety issue more prevalence versus convenience, and we just want to live our lives. So at the end, that's the discussion.
Okay, because here's a concern that I have. Okay, does that safety go away for 7 days? So for 7 days, we don't have to worry about safety? I got a problem with that. Because if it's not safe for, 28 days or whatever, why is it safe for 7 days? Okay. So I got a problem with even being able to park them out there at all. When I moved to Evansville about 4 years ago, and my wife and I were looking at it. I said, you know what? I think we need to go buy a camper, because there was like everybody on the street had a camper. Okay, so I said, if we're going to fit in here, we better get a camper. But I think, and some of them I understand where sometimes you don't have a place to park it. Okay, but I think, in the area where I live, people got room. They can move their fence a little bit. If I'm going to own a camper, I can move my fence so I can back my camper in. Okay, I can do that. When my brother came and visited me a couple summers ago, he brought his camper. I worked it out so that he could get his camper up off the street, because I just don't think they're safe out there. I had my next door neighbor left. He had just a little utility trailer, that was just sitting out there, sat out there for months. Okay. And I had actually called and asked about it a couple times and nothing ever happened. Well, some poor kid was mowing the yard across the street from me for one of my neighbors while he was gone. And getting paid $20 to do it. Well, while he was in the backyard mowing, somebody came by and sideswiped his car. Well, the police officer asked me if I'd seen what happened, and I said, no, I didn't. However, I said, it's pretty obvious this trailer's sticking out here, and probably 2 pickups came by, and there's not room for 2 pickups in that trailer in this kid's car. So here's this kid with a $500 deductible and a $20 lawn mowing job. And I just don't think that's right. And we don't have many kids on our street, but on the one right behind us, there's a lot of kids, and those kids are constant. I mean, they're kids. I mean, they ride their little 3-wheel things out, and they come out from behind vehicles. It's bad enough coming out from behind vehicles, but when they come out behind a trailer, you just flat can't see them. So to me, I guess if it's from a safety standpoint, if that's why we're doing it, it should be 0 days. Okay? Now, if somebody pulls up and they got their truck hooked up to it and they're unloading their trailer, hey, you got it, that's reasonable. Okay? But when they just leave them parked there, and I can't imagine the nightmare for you, where do you guys have to drive by and make a little mark and say, okay, well, this guy's been here now. He was here Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's terrible. Or, but I understand where you guys are coming from. I mean, but if I'm going to own a boat or if I'm going to own a trailer, I need to make arrangements to be able to maintain those, just like I do my car or anything else that I do. okay? And so I guess my big deal is when it really comes right down to it, if we're gonna have an ordinance, let's enforce it. If we're not gonna enforce it, let's don't have an ordinance. What's the difference? So that's my point of view anyway, for
Thank
what
you.
it's worth.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dacia Edwards and I live at 340 Missouri. I have a camper myself. However, I don't bring it home. I have brought it home like when I'm like, okay, we're going out. So Thursday I'll bring it home, clean it out, whatever. But I've also brought limos home and different things. And I can tell you, one of my neighbors has a camper, and at times where I feel like I have a problem is I have an expedition. I have lots of kids. I have an expedition. So when I pull in, at times, one of my neighbors has their their slide out. And so when I go to back out my expedition, I can't see who's coming, coming or going. And so it does, I feel like, impede, and it does. And then we also have kids like me. I have tons of kids. So it is hard to see when you have your neighbors that have those little Jeeps and the little four-wheeled bicycle thing that they pedal to hit a kid. And the last thing I want to do is hurt somebody's kid. That's not my intentions. Now, I may encourage them with my voice, but I'm not going to hurt someone's kids. So I do feel like at times when I'm trying to back out of my driveway, now I have another set of neighbors, and they're very respectful of their campers. They pull it out usually, and like it may be there not even a day, like a couple hours, and they're gone. And when they come home, they like put it away, and like you never have a problem at all, and the same thing with their boat. They never have it on the street. They're very respectful. I'm like, y'all good, versus the other ones, it is hard to see. And like, I don't back my car in unless I have groceries, but a lot of the times it's very hard to see when you're coming out, as well as the kids. So I feel like the ordinance is definitely necessary, but because I do have a camper, I can definitely see the fact where people do have their arguments. So here's my 22 on that. Yes, I have a sprinkler system. However, would it be a problem if I parked my camper on the grass? As long as it's not in the street and or impeding the sidewalk?
Park in front of your house.
As far as the fire code goes, if you park it actually in your yard and it blocks your house numbers, that's, you're not supposed to do that.
Well, put your house numbers on a post. No, I'm being serious here, because you're saying you can't see because of the slide out. Well, you shouldn't be living in your camper.
No, they don't. But like, when you're getting your camper ready, I think, I don't know, I haven't been inside, but I think they push their slide out. I don't know why, but you know what I mean?
No.
I'm like,
And as far as safety, I don't think it's so much as vehicles. I mean, whatever, it may be that case, but take the $10 or the $15 and buy, like our neighbors have the little kids that play, the yellow signs that go out there. And have those for Evansville streets where the kids.
No, those are not allowed.
You can't put those.
because that would be a safety issue.
Impeding traffic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one, there's an ordinance against it, and there's traffic studies out there to show they're not effective anyway, so the ordinance itself.
Works on our street. And I don't know.
What's
Not supposed to happen.
And I'm not saying this, but I probably have the busiest street in Evansville, children. I truly do.
Now,
And-
if you change the ordinance, then.
Right.
Not all day long, I'm just telling you, if you dive into it and do traffic
Sure.
study and look at all that stuff.
But I see kids every day, 20, you know where I live, a lot of kids. I mean,
I know, I try to avoid your street with candy.
I know, no, for real, it's truly, I probably see 50 kids a day. And they, whatever, my neighbors don't do it, but they do work. I mean, you see people slow down and watch in case the ball's coming out or whatever. It may not work on main thoroughfares or whatever, but I personally have seen it work. Just slow cars down. Just give them a heads up, hey, there's kids out here playing.
However, I have seen, like, when you go out, I think it's the next street down, not right here this way, but when I'm trying to come back this way on Curtis, I do remember a couple years ago, there was a camper that was parked there a lot, and it was hard to see around. So it's kind of like you inch out, and then I have Thompson going, hey, you ran the stop sign. No, I didn't. I stopped. But then I inched up, closer. No, you ran the stop sign. No, I didn't. I swear. But you can't see because, the cars that are there. I mean, I feel like it's the same way with the cars on like in the new area still. I mean, I know that we tried to paint it and then people didn't like that. I mean, I feel like it's a 22 either way you go. However, I do feel like at times campers can be, they're good and they're bad. I mean, I don't know. So I almost agree with them on the little permit thing, maybe. But I also think maybe I wish there was some way we had some extra land to park our campers on that we paid storage to Evansville. And there's more money.
There's a lot of parking spots out here. We could just spread them out.
Can I make one real quick remark too? I did mean to say, you guys have done an awesome job of enforcing things. I've noticed a difference in the last year or 6 months or whatever it's been, because we don't have hardly anything parked on our streets and stuff anymore that I see.
Yeah.
So you guys have done an awesome job with that.
I think they're doing an awesome job too. Hi, I'm Sheila Riggs. I live on Platt Park Road. I'm the same way. I'm torn. I don't know. I don't think money is an issue. If the camper's parked there, it doesn't matter if they give you $100 or $1,000, it's still parked there. It could be a danger. It could be an eyesore. It could be whatever this ordinance is saying that it is. As far as parking, one of my concerns is how can you stop somebody from parking their camper in front of somebody else's house? If you're allowed to park it in this town, they can park it anywhere, right? So like you live on a corner. So what if they started on that side corner right there, just lining up all their boats and their campers? And you come to that stop sign and you try to see what's coming. You can't. Where I live, what if they start lining them up over there across my view? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to call Chief Thompson. I know there's nothing he can do, but I mean, that's one reason I bought that house. So that's my concern. Where does this go? Hey, I'm allowed to park my boat on the street. Can't help it if it's in front of your house.
The only thing I could see, because that has been brought up to me too. She was pregnant.
We'll take up
is
some
if
permits.
If we had it to where if you own that particular trailer, camper, or whatever, it has to be parked in front of your home.
But,
Absolutely.
That would be even easy to me. I don't know if-
but that would have to be an ordinance.
So I can park my camper in front of my house, but park my 4 vehicles in front of their house where
Yeah,
they
that-
can.
I mean, right now
So-
you can, yes.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, but then I can park my 4 vehicles in front of her house and then she can't park within her driveway as long as I don't block her driveway.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many variables to this thing that it's kind of
with
like,
the ordinance, with that all out of the way, that's legal to do anyway.
Yeah.
You can park in front of anybody's house and
Right.
on anybody's street, whether there's a camper there or
Right,
not.
but even if you put that in the ordinance that you should only park your camper in front of your house, is that, even though we put it into an ordinance, it's a public street, so can that even be valid?
that's kind of, it can, okay, that's just what I'm getting at. I'm just throwing things out that go through my head. Sometimes they shouldn't come out of my mouth.
As a matter of
But-
fact, Casper uses that ordinance.
Do they?
You own something, it has to be parked in front of your residence.
Well, that's what I was curious, because it's a public street, that's why I didn't know if you
But-
actually can enforce that law.
Aren't you
What?
talking about, trailers, stuff like that, not their personal vehicles?
I'm not sure exactly what it pertains, if it pertains to just their vehicle, but I think it does pertain to anything that you own. Should be parked in front of your residence.
I don't think the fees would work because that is completely defeating what we're trying to do here. That's just saying, oh, here's the money. Let me do what I want to do. I don't think, because we're trying to make it safer, I think, because he's right with the kids. Even if you have those little yellow people out there, kids dart out so fast. I mean, they're right there. And I don't care if you're running 5. You can't, I mean, it just happens. I mean, they know. It's just too much. And I know that everybody moves into different situations and everybody lives in different situations, but we owned an RV back in the day. When we bought a new house, we knew we had to buy a house that had RV parking. We owned an RV. You know, it's just when you own something, if I can't go buy something that I can't fit in my house, you know, I can't go buy a cinematic big screen TV. It's not going to fit in my house. You have to buy, but that's just nitpicking. But I think if you have the space to do it, if that means renovating your lot to fit your toys, That's what you have to do, if that's what we're going to come down to. Just my opinion.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Scott, did you have anything to say on that?
As far as the legalities of public parking?
Mhm.
No, I mean, it's really designated through municipal ordinance. I don't think there's any, I don't believe, I'd have to look, if there's a state statute regarding parking or the nature of public roads for private parking.
So you're saying that they could put in the ordinance that you need to put your camper in front of your own house?
Yeah, there's nothing preventing that from being part of an ordinance.
No, that's okay. That's how we find out, right? Ready to ask.
Hi, I'm Tanya at 748 Whipsaw. I'm back. This time last year, maybe I did bring this up because when I moved into Evansville, I did read it, and then I started seeing trailers parked everywhere. Going down the street, there was a big red trailer with four-wheelers on it that sit down there for a while. I complained about 7th Street. When people are parking on both sides of the road, you can't see coming out on Whipsaw. But the only thing is, if you can't see past a truck, how are you going to see past a camper? I don't even know why this is in discussion. It was in the ordinance. I don't know why it just didn't stay the same and say, it was here, it's placed. Sorry you guys didn't read it when you moved into Evansville. I know a lot of members on the council didn't even know it was there or didn't know the correct meaning of it. But like a lot of people said, if you want to have these toys, you got to make room for them. If I was moving out here and I had an RV, I'd make sure that I had RV parking. I fight with my neighbors all the time. They have 15 people living in their freaking house. So I just asked them for one parking spot in front of my house when they have like 9 different cars. So I know it's going to be hard. Like they said, if you park your camper in front of your house, then where are you going to park your vehicles? I made sure my garage was big enough. I made sure my driveway was big enough to accommodate my vehicles. So I don't know why people didn't accommodate for their RVs or their four-wheelers, or why all of a sudden it's even up for discussion. It's a danger zone. And are you guys going to be prepared if you guys pass this bill for people to park their campers for the first kid to get hit? You guys are asking summertime. Kids are going to be out running around. When I turn on 7th Street going home, I go like at 5 miles an hour because kids are riding their bikes and they zoom out all the time. Luckily, you can see them because the cars are small. But if you put campers up going all the way down the street, and if the kid gets hit, we're going to be right back here again going, oh, did we make the wrong decision? Just like you guys did the parking lines. You guys agreed to extend them. Then a lot of more people came in. They didn't like the signs. So you guys changed your minds and you shortened the yellow lines. So it's either we're going to make a decision and we're going to keep it and stick with it, or just keep it like it is. You have 7 days. Do whatever you have to do within your 7 days and move on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will mention that, that's the reason why we're here, is to have these discussions so that we can come up with what the town wants to see. In regards to the parking lines, you're correct. You brought that up last year. We painted those. We did look at it, and those lines are still twice as long as any other line in the subdivision. So it's not like we just reversed that and ripped everything back out. We were looking for that compromise that met the line of sight around the corner as well as the property owners in the area. And that's what I think we're trying to accomplish here, is just, and there's no decisions made. We're looking for town input to decide, do we change something? What's that decision going to look like? So we're just asking for the town's input so that we can be informed as we look forward to, does this need to be changed? What would that look like?
So what's the penalty if you, sorry.
Do we have any statistics on how many things, cars, trailers, campers are hit? Police reports. Because the other day, driving down Sixth Street, I saw a guy, I assume was passed out in a vehicle. A dog was trying to get in the door, scratch on the window, and I'm like, oh, there's a cop right up there. So I went on up and I rolled down my window and I said, there's a guy, something's wrong. He's either passed out or something in his car. It's fairly early in the morning. He said, ma'am, I'm handling this accident. I didn't even see it. Somebody had sideswiped a vehicle. So I'm just wondering how often that truly happens, as far as, I don't know why, but it just came into my mind, how often does that truly happen? Is this a big problem? Because you do have to slow down. I'm sorry, I don't care how good of a driver you are. If there's cars on both sides, I am very nervous to pass. I let one come through first and they always go like this. So there's not enough room. It's not just me. So just curious if there was statistics on.
With no campers there.
Yeah.
Just cars.
Right, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we've got some areas, down here between 3rd and 4th Street. That road is extremely narrow. That road used to be the end of town before the additional houses got built in there, which at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of traffic on that road. It wasn't a huge deal, but when added the additional houses down there, now we've increased the amount of traffic there on a pretty narrow
And
road.
perhaps
So
that's part of the reason for this ordinance. The
Mhm.
traffic has increased so much, it's now become an issue, where in the
Mhm.
past, like 10 years ago, it wasn't an issue.
So what is the
Absolutely.
penalty if you park more than 7 days?
I think you get a fine and then probably you become unhabitual, they probably call you in.
Well, I'm not asking what, probably, I'm like, what?
Sure.
Otherwise, I'd rather see my boat on the road, because I'll park it right in my yard, don't matter to me. I'd rather see it on the road than in the yard. And my neighbor down the street who uses it every weekend, and so on and so forth.
So as far as penalty, our rate bond right now is $50 or $60 something, but it can be up to $700. So statutorily, there's no fee. Municipality cannot have anything more than a $750 fine because it's a misdemeanor offense. Now, if you pay your $50, where the penalty is, and then you keep reoffending, eventually you get brought into the court, and then the court can impose other things beyond just that.
I'm just curious if they don't change it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna pull up my bill. As long as you see my street address. I'm just saying, I have 4-wheelers, I have a boat, and people are saying, oh, well, you should have thought about that. Well, you know what? I'm single. I don't have all that room. I don't, but the stuff I do have, I use, and whether it's in the winter, I plowed all of Evansville sidewalks, whether it's whatever it is. Well, but you know what I'm saying? I use these things, and I don't want to have to park them up in there, cut my trees down and make my parking lot. Like this lady here was saying, she's begging for a spot. Well, I thought you said we only have 3 things. But there's 14 people, and I'm assuming there's more than 3 vehicles there. Where do we go with that?
And see,
Well,
I would
think that's
rather
3
see,
things as a camper, boat,
It's
and like
it's
that.
vehicles too.
3 vehicles per
Yes.
family household.
let me check
Is
and
that
say
it?
no.
now this ordinance strictly states travel trailers, motorized homes, boat trailers, or dismounted truck campers.
but see, I would rather see his boat on the street than in his yard. That's just.
There
A
it looks,
homeownership,
right,
it doesn't-
exactly.
That begins to look junky.
Well, with that being said, that's where I would put it,
Right,
because
you
that's the
don't,
only
it's
choice
a
I have.
catch-22, it doesn't,
Right.
I don't know what you guys are gonna do.
If you put a few flowers in it.
Right.
Like the toilet.
Right.
But if you had alternative methods to put your boat somewhere, saying you're not gonna, in Evansville city limits, would you use that?
Absolutely, I would.
Because recently my cousin has purchased a lot over here and he's turning it into RV boat storage.
Which is fine, other than in town, people are wanting $50 a month.
But because this is what he's gonna do, and they have it set up so that they'll pull it out for you and they will put it away for you.
Sure.
If you just give them notice.
Right.
That's what he's gonna do.
In the wintertime, like right now, my boat, I got 2 boats, but I'm getting ready to sell. It's at the fairgrounds, underneath the bleachers. And they charge me $24 a month.
Right.
all winter long.
But if it was, if you had access in
Absolutely,
Evansville,
absolutely I would.
because it's just gonna be right over here.
Absolutely I would.
Do we have any land left where we sold that land?
Well, we didn't sell that land. It's a process still ongoing right now. The town has some property in other areas, so.
Could be a thing with a tax thing, maybe. Create some taxes, give people that live here and pay taxes here a place to park their extra vehicle.
I think it'd be a great idea. I think we might get a little kickback from the people that don't have those vehicles that have to pay additional taxes now because of it, though.
It's something like
But who knows? Anything's open at this point. So, Chief?
So a couple of things to answer your statistical question. Accident records in Cheyenne, they can get some of that data. You can also go on Google to give you that. So ironically, we're here. This is part of our American process. Ordinances, laws should all be discussed and reviewed from time to time. Each community has their own likes and dislikes to things. Sometimes you have to equate the liabilities that come into that. There are places that have ordinances that allow RV parking permits at the discretion generally of the police department, so it's not encumbering our clerks and treasurers and what they're doing, because it is a public safety consideration. So as the town, you can take that consideration in here. So one thing in Wyoming, a lot of the smaller towns and even some of the bigger cities have ordinances or laws they've been on the books for 100 years. So take traffic enforcement. Everybody complains, oh, you're out ticketing me for a stoplight out on my vehicle. However, with time, technology changes. So it's important, I think, as a community and the governing body to review these ordinances and look at the times. Because when this ordinance was put in place, we had different elected people. We had a different attorney who has a different viewpoint, and different community members probably had different input at the time than we do today. So I think it's important to follow our process as what we are as Americans and have the discussion what works for this community, because the problems that may or may not be here are going to be different than Douglas and Casper and Mills and California and all these different places. So I think it's a good discussion to have. And I think there's valid points for both sides, but at the end, the governing body, you are the elected people, and therefore our discussion is enlightened up here.
Thank you. Nothing like putting a little pressure on all of us. Do we have any other comments? Anybody else like to speak up tonight?
Well, apparently 2020 was one of the biggest years of selling campers in the past 50 because of COVID. Everybody's like, well, we can't do anything. Let's get a camper and let's go to the woods. So obviously, a lot of things changed last year, and definitely because of COVID, a lot of people bought campers.
I've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
And they had, and that was their method of.
Yeah, well, sorry. I was using the local. She was trying to be like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, it was terrible. Local guys lost homes.
Yes, absolutely.
So, safety first, I agree. Safety first within reason.
That's right.
Any other comments?
We discussed the camper trailers, but not any like flatbed trailers or any sort of like, like sellable trailers. My mom has a flatbed trailer in front of her house, and we're gonna move it. We're gonna take care of that first. She doesn't need to sit in her house. She doesn't move it. But what about those? You can see around them.
As far as I read the ordinance, those are not outlined in the ordinance.
Flatbed trailers in general.
So the ordinance specifically says 7 days in a consecutive 30-day period, any travel trailers, motorized homes, boat trailer, or dismounted truck camper provided.
So you could have a flatbed with 4 razors on it or 4-wheelers?
That's the way I see this. I mean, the only thing that would pertain to it is the title, which the title actually reads parking of travel trailers and motorized homes, boats, trailers, and dismounted truck campers prohibited on streets or alleys. So it looks to me like this very specifically identifies the travel trailers, campers, boat trailers.
4-wheelers on the road, but boat up and park.
So
Have an extra space?
I mean, yeah.
that's the way I read it, is
Sure.
the flatbed trailers are not included in this ordinance unless,
Well, I think they're trying to probably keep that from people that work with their flatbreads on a daily basis for
Mhm.
their jobs, and they're hauling stuff or they use it for their business. But
Mhm.
Well, that's, yeah, what about enclosed utility trailers that gentlemen use for their tools or whatnot?
Right, but that's not a camper trailer.
I don't know how you can exclude one trailer from another.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
I agree.
I'm
A
trailer's a trailer.
If you can't have a trailer, you can't have a trailer.
A horse trailer versus a camper trailer, you can't see around either one.
I mean, yeah, you can't,
Yeah,
I
if
don't
we're
think you should
talking
have
safety, a
enclosed, you
trailer's a
can't
trailer.
have a boat, you can't have it enclosed, you can't have, I agree.
I agree with that.
yes, sir.
You know, and the commercial trucks were mentioned once, one day here, I don't know, probably been 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody had 3 wreckers parked on where you turn on Eagle Trail. There was literally barely room for one vehicle to go through there, and they were right on the corner. I mean, your chances of getting head on by somebody were pretty, I mean, so it just kind of seems to me that maybe some more thought needs to be put into this before anything is passed.
Well, and we're not proposing anything to this evening. So we are here to hear from the public is what we're here to do. This was brought up last year, no rash decisions made at that point in time. I think that's what we're all after, is to receive that public input so that some thought can be put into this. It's a complicated thing. Once we started going down this road, there's a lot of components to it. Like you say, parking on the corner. It's already illegal to park on the corner within, I don't know, the standard's probably like 12 feet from the corner, I think is where the standard line is drawn. But that was one of the things I got into with trailers is, all right, well, do you worry about language in this as to where a trailer can be parked near the corner, or should you be looking at all vehicles, how close they should be parking to a corner? So the thread unwinds in a lot of different directions on this. And I think what we were looking at as a council was to get citizen input, everybody's input, so that we can go back and digest this and put some thought into it to look at a direction. My opinion. I
Mine
know how
too.
the rest
I
of the
was
council
even
feels.
gonna ask that if we still get public input for at least the next meeting as well, before we even decided to digest everything that we've been told, because we want to make a fair but complete, so that we do not have to look back at this ordinance again. If we do it, if it does need to be changed, we want to change it once and be done.
And I think you gotta look at all the trailers, not just travel trailers. Because if she took her camper and then the person beside her had a horse trailer, I would be mad if I was her, that he could park his horse trailer and I could park. If it's about safety, you can't see around any kind of trailer. Even
Right, but at the same
construction.
time, I don't want somebody's mode of work being impeded by a camper trailer that should be something that should be summer, spring use, not being lumped in, that this is somebody's livelihood they use on a daily basis to get their work stuff back and forth, should not be lumped in with something extracurricular. Should not be lumped in with that.
Yeah, and if you call trailer, you're going to do that because you have flatbed trailers that are used to pull things
Right,
for
that
work.
should not be
So,
lumped in with something this is extracurricular activities that we are talking about, not somebody's livelihood. There should not be intermixed.
Sure.
So that wording needs to be. Right, but I mean, when they're talking about lumping all trailers, it's like they should not be lumped together, because one's extracurricular, one's somebody's livelihood, it's a big difference. So that wording needs to be correct
Well, if
with that.
they're working with a trailer or their house, would they have a shop? You could park it by the shop.
I mean,
Or-
not necessarily, no.
A welder doesn't necessarily. My cousin, he's a welder. And
Hot shot
Again,
runners.
again, to me, it seems like that's from a safety standpoint. If you're gonna be a welder, you gotta have a place for your truck.
Yeah, that's not
We
necessarily.
park his truck in his driveway, but he also has a camper that has his extra cord, not a camper.
I'm just saying,
A small enclosed trailer. Right. With extra cords.
Good luck, guys.
thanks, appreciate it. So this is multifaceted. So We appreciate everybody coming out and providing their input. I know council takes everybody's input very seriously, so we'll take that into consideration as we look at steps moving forward.
And it just comes to light, post it on the one, or the Evansville page, so that, I would absolutely.
I really think that we need to put some type of thing up at the post office, because there's a lot of elderly people in this town that are not on Facebook. Mind you, we are trying to get older neighbors on it or whatever, but they need it in the newspaper, or they need it posted down at the post office. They need, I mean, if we're gonna be talking about this, if we want their opinion, because their opinion matters, they've been here, a lot of them, original owners since the 1970s or the 60s. They need to be a part of this conversation, and the only way to reach them is knock it on their door or post it at the post office.
Well, it was posted on their water bill.
It was on the water, you're right, it was on the water.
It was on the water bill.
We try our best to reach out to everybody in every medium. I know we've used the post office in the past. Sometimes things disappear at the post office bulletin board, but we do try to put information out there. So any way we can, we want everybody's input. So that's the point of this. And we get, like with anything, you're going to have all sides and all opinions. So, but we want to hear from everybody so that we can make as informed decision as possible. So we appreciate everybody coming out and commenting. So if I have no more discussion on trailers, we'll move into the public comment period. Anybody have any public comments that weren't about trailers?
Not about trailers. Summer is coming, and it'd be great if the holes in the path were filled for, especially the little bikes, coming into certain streets. There are just 10-inch sections they're like 6 inches deep, that if somebody, those holes could be filled, would be great, so kids aren't losing a front tire in it.
I know somebody who can put that on
Well, then we're talking about holes, I was not gonna bring this up tonight.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it was going so long. But the mailboxes on Platform Road,
Mhm.
something has
Yeah,
got to be
it's
done.
terrible.
You will tear the bottom of your car off now, Terry.
Oh, you mean the,
Yeah, so I've actually, nobody gave me this idea. I've talked to a couple of concrete companies to see how much they would charge for them. What my question is to you is, how much does it cost to put in the gravel that we normally do versus putting in concrete, so once it's done, it's done. Plus, it'll look better, it'll beautify the community, and you don't have to continue to pay somebody to fill these holes. You don't, I guess it would still be ice. Maybe he'll plow it for us.
I actually have plowed that a couple times. and I really-
But
Yes.
you may not use it, but what I'm noticing is cars are now starting to, especially when it's really muddy, drive on the cement that's right there by the mailboxes, so that's eventually gonna crack and break, and that's gonna have to be redone. They're gonna hit the box or.
If it could just be disc or something, I mean, just loosen that up to where it would fill in them holes. It's bad.
It's bad. It really is bad. And like I said, I did call a couple of places and get some quotes just so we could compare, so that when I came and said, hey, what's the price difference? I've talked to a couple of people in my neighborhood. I guess our subdivision is called Eagle Estates, and that is who uses those mailboxes. Several people have said they would be willing to contribute $10 to $15 to help pay to have that cemented.
Absolutely.
See?
well, and there might be some other options as well. I mean, as we're looking at this newer subdivision, if that were to come to fruition, I think they had proposed putting mailboxes in the same location. So there might be some options available come in the future. So, but I think we should look at all of our options. And
I don't want to waste the money to get it put in, but I don't think we have a choice. Something's got to be done. You can't, in a car, when you first turn in on the south side, my car actually hits the bottom. When you
Well, if you put oil, you
on
get a hole in your oil pan.
You
can't come back to heaven for it. You ain't for it. We ain't paying for it.
When you do rip the oil pan out, you better get it moved.
Yeah, and you need to clean up that oil as well. That is.
I get it taken care of, okay? But no, serious, I mean, it's just like you said with the holes in the walkway, it's just winter has wreaked havoc on everything.
absolutely.
The
Well,
hole just got a little bit bigger. We already had one scuffed nose over it, so.
well, I think in the meantime, I know road base is pretty cheap. So It wouldn't be too awful crazy to do some fill-in. So while we
Make your nose fall.
work it out. So.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if Chief Thompson and that lady over on Missouri are gonna be on the weed crew this year for the nuisance weeds?
I've not heard such thing. If you would like to put together a community cleanup committee to help people who are unable to do their weeds, I've heard quite a few people that would be interested in joining such a thing. So.
Okay, I'll have to email Chief Thompson and see if he can put it on the schedule.
Well, remember, we need the chief for protecting the law. So.
I've seen him run a bolt or a tobacco. I think he does a good.
Hey, he's pretty good with the weed whacker
That was
too.
very much appreciated.
It sure was,
Absolutely.
it really was.
And he had fun
Pretty
too.
handy. You can run a backhoe.
Well, in all seriousness, I have had several people that have come forward saying that they'd be happy to help the community deal with mowing, weeds, those types of things. We did a community cleanup here a month or so ago. We went out and helped a resident clean up the yard and things. So there's a lot of people out there willing to contribute that time. All it takes is someone to help organize such a thing. I think she's ignoring me now.
What did you guys say?
Yeah, I think you're ignoring me now.
Say it one more time.
I said there's a lot of people out there willing to help kick in for those people that have in need. I think all we need is someone to help organize it.
I'll email Chief Thompson.
All right. Do we have any other public comments? Public comments?
Are we going to contact the pets this year? Last year, the mosquitoes, obviously not bad yet. You give it another 6 weeks and they are going to be getting for it. Last summer, they were ridiculous. I personally contacted weed pets. They were going to be down a couple people, so they weren't going to. So they said the more people that called, the higher up on the list. And we got sprayed, I think a total of twice last summer. We normally would be getting sprayed 12 times. So they were really bad to the point, like, we couldn't even go down by the river to enjoy it. I mean, we were drenched in bug spray, still getting bit.
We can reach out, but my understanding is, like you had said, that it's all citizen-based calls is how they prioritize that. So we can reach out and ask that question, but if we may get the same answer, in which case we're going to have to look at everybody in the town to step up.
So. Get somebody else that may be a little bit more up of like, hey.
I'll tell you what,
We-
you do a call chain. You call
Yeah.
Tina, Tina call me, I call Tanya, she'll call me. Yeah.
Just need somebody to organize that. All right.
I did. Yeah, the more people that call, the higher on the list.
That's good to know.
When do you start calling?
Like, next week.
All right. Do we have any more public comments? Public comments? Oh, sorry. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I got a little ahead of myself. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor?
Bye.
All right. Meeting closed at 8:14. I think everybody did. If you want.
I'll officially.
Yes, ma'am.
He's talking about using the Avalon parking lot now, so that's gonna be blocked.